I mean, always happy to talk about myself, trust me. Well, I meet a lot of writers, a lot of aspiring writers, and they all seem to think that writing and selling a novel is really complicated, that there's a sort of a lot of stuff that you have to have, a process, copyright forms, lawyers, guns, and money, and all this. And that there's like a specific formula that you have to follow, that there's a certain number of characters you can have and certain forbidden verb tenses that you're not allowed to use and things like that. The fact is that it's not really that complicated. All you need to write a novel is something to write with. And all you need to sell a novel is the ability to get that novel in front of potential publishers or the skill set that's necessary to make self-publishing successful. Bottom line, the guiding principle of this book is that if I can write and sell 9 novels, then anybody can, because I'm kind of dumb. When you're a kid and all the adults in the room, like your parents' friends, are always trying to ask you what you want to be when you grow up. When I was a kid, I wanted to stand out. I wanted to have an answer that would set me apart. I didn't want to do something generic like fireman or astronaut, I would say brain surgeon, because I felt like it was specific enough that it jumped out, and made me stand out. And then I got a little bit older and I started to realize just how much work went into becoming a brain surgeon, how many years of school and how much math it involved. So I started to look around for a profession that I could claim that still sounded cool, but didn't have that kind of work involved. So I settled on writer. Because when you tell people that you want to be or you are a writer, they think, oh, he's a smart guy. When the fact is, when someone tells you that they're a writer, you're looking at someone who didn't want to do any math. I'd say it's my complete lack of special expertise or insider knowledge or access. I'm disorganized, I'm lazy, and I'm frequently inebriated, and yet somehow I've managed to sell 9 novels, dozens of short stories, and I supply anywhere from 20 to 46% of all the book-related freelance content on the internet every day. Can I teach you my secret? Probably not. But I can be damned entertaining while failing to do so. Best writing advice I ever got. This really drunk guy in a bar once told me that I should write every story as if I'm Tony Stark being held captive in a cave and forced to write fiction on pain of death if it's not entertaining enough. And I asked him, why? And he said, just in case you're ever held captive in a cave like Tony Stark and you're forced to write fiction on pain of death if it's not entertaining enough. And then I thought, you know what? You can't argue with that logic. The second best writing advice I've ever received is simpler. Always write stuff you'd want to read. The moment you're bored writing your book, or the moment you're struggling writing your book, is the moment that a reader will be bored and a reader will struggle and the reader will not finish. Worst writing advice I've ever received is anything that starts with the words "you can't." You can do anything in fiction. If you're writing a novel, you can literally do anything. There is no you can't. There's only what can you pull off? What can you sell to your reader? You want to have a dead narrator? Have a dead narrator. You want to use some archaic verb tense? Use an archaic verb tense. It doesn't matter. There's nothing you can't do. There's nothing you're not allowed to do. It just depends on whether you can make it work or not. Second worst writing advice I ever got is the old chestnut, write what you know, which, if interpreted properly, is not bad advice. But unfortunately, most writers seem to interpret it very, very literally, which if I did that, every book I write would be about a middle-aged, alcoholic, white guy complaining about first world problems for about 800 pages. First you'd have to define living. I'm a writer, and we writers, we learn at a very, very early age how to live off of ramen and rainwater collected in barrels outside the house, how to cadge free sandwiches from the conference room at your temp job, how to make clothing out of candy wrappers. Nobody chooses to be a novelist because they think they're going to get rich. That being said, you can absolutely make a living from your words. The secret very often is that you've got to be willing to write a lot of stuff you'd rather not write. Yeah, that's such a common question these days. The problem with self-publishing is that a lot of writers seem to think that it's this big old easy button that you slap it on, and then giggle as a Amazon blimp floats over your house and rains down quarters and pennies upon you in royalties. The fact is, self-publishing is a lot of work. It's a lot of work. I mean, aside from the writing, there's, editing and copy editing and proofreading and typesetting and designing and pricing and distribution and promotion and promotion and promotion. I'm a lazy man. I don't want to do any of that work. So for me, traditional publishing is a much better choice. However, if you've got that skill set and you've got the wherewithal to put in that kind of work, then self-publishing can be a huge win. Software, yeah. All I use is a free word processor called LibreOffice. That's it. I use more software when I'm shopping for groceries than I do when I'm writing a book. I assume I'm not allowed to say me. I'm not allowed to say me, right? If I can't say me, I would say Elmore Leonard. Man made it look easy. People want to hear that there's a process. You know, they want to have a replicable process that they can employ that will guarantee them results. But all process is whatever lets you get words on the page. Look, I'm a pretty sketchy, disorganized guy. I wake up in the morning, I don't have a plan. I don't use word counts as metrics. I don't think about what I'm going to write every day. I tend to work in the margins. You know, I tend to work in short bursts during the day whenever the mood and the opportunity strike me. And I don't have much of a plan. I don't have much of a process. Also, I live in a house with 5 cats. My time is not my own. Alcohol in writing, yes. Alcohol in writing works like this. You start drinking at 2:34 in the afternoon because it's 5 o'clock somewhere. You wake up 4 days later in a Canadian jail, and as part of your personal effects that are returned to you is a 400-page manuscript you don't remember writing. On the drive home with your silent, murderously enraged wife, you start reading the manuscript eagerly to find out what you produced, and you're disappointed to discover that it's terrible. Alcohol is great for opening your mind, relaxing your inhibitions, letting new ideas seep in, you know, letting your mind wander in crazy ways that leads to inspiration. It's great at that. For actually getting writing down on the page and organizing your thoughts, alcohol sucks. Other things alcohol is good for: choosing outfits, binging old sitcoms, convincing yourself to eat something ill-advised, accepting dares, dancing, poetry recitals, and chess.